Hello, dear members of the Soul and Real Stories family. Today, we will bring you a romantic love story, so let's get started. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any meaningful stories. London on a cold early winter evening. The golden lights from towering buildings reflected down onto the bustling crowds on the streets inside the Grand Hall of the Grand Mayfair Hotel, where the launch event for Loan Innovation's groundbreaking medical product was taking place. An atmosphere of luxury and excitement filled every corner. On stage stood Derek Lawson, a powerful figure delivering his speech. With calm confidence at 38, he had achieved remarkable success, building a leading medical technology empire from scratch and turning it into a global symbol of innovation. With his commanding height, dark hair stirred with silver and sharp eyes, Derek was the epitome of the modern business magnate. However, behind his perfect exterior lay a profound loneliness. Since childhood, Derek had battled a rare genetic condition that rendered him incapable of having children. Failed treatments, broken marriages, and the fading dream of a small, loving family had become a distant reality. He devoted all his time and energy to his career, transforming LW and innovations into a pioneering force in the medical field. Yet, no matter how brilliant his achievements, he still felt an emptiness in the grandeur of his luxurious surroundings. Amid the dazzling crowd of the event, Hannah Cole, an investigative journalist from New York, quietly observed from a distance. With her wavy brown hair and sharp blue eyes, Hannah possessed both captivating beauty and a formidable intellect. Her trip to London was not merely to report on Lawson Innovation's latest development, but to delve deeper into the secrets hidden behind the walls of this medical tech empire. As a journalist specializing in healthcare and technology investigations, Hannah was no stranger to corporate maneuvers and hidden agendas. She knew that a corporation as large as Lawson Innovations couldn't be without its secrets. However, as she watched Derek on stage, she saw something beyond the polished exterior, an intensity in his gaze, a hint of vulnerability that only those who had experienced loss could recognize. The event proceeded smoothly until the unexpected arrival of Nathan Blackwood, the chairman of rival corporation Biogen Tech, disrupted the atmosphere. Nathan was a man driven by ambition with a long history of hostile takeovers and questionable tactics. His cold smile immediately put Derek on high alert. They had clashed many times in the business world, and Derek knew that Nathan's presence at this event was no coincidence. Hannah happened to witness a tense conversation between Derek and Nathan as she passed by the VIP area. Nathan slightly hinted at Lawson Innovations facing the threat of losing controlling shares to anonymous investors. Though Derek maintained his composure, there was a flicker of anger and determination in his eyes. He wouldn't let it happen. After the event, Derek decided to leave earlier than planned to avoid the tiresome small talk. Meanwhile, Hannah found herself crossing paths with him at the hotel bar. What started as witty banter soon turned into a deeper conversation about life, dreams, and the truths neither of them had dared to admit. For a rare moment, Derek felt as though he could remove the mask of a successful businessman and simply be a man searching for something more. Hannah, too, hadn't expected to find such a strange connection with Derek. In a foreign city, a man who seemingly had everything but lacked the one thing that truly mattered: genuine love. As the city lights reflected through the wine glass in her hand, emotions ran high, and Derek and Hannah were drawn to each other in an intense whirlwind, unaware that this night would change their lives forever. Welcome to today's story. Let us know in the comments which city you're listening from. You might find someone from the same place tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. 3 months later, Hannah stood in front of the clinic in New York, her heart pounding as she stared at the ultrasound results. The image of 3 fetuses clearly displayed on the screen left her stunned. How is this possible? She muttered, recalling what Derek had once told her about his inability to have children. The initial shock quickly gave way to anxiety. Derek had a right to know, but would he believe it? With fear and countless unanswered questions, she returned to London. However, when she finally faced Derek again, she realized he was already battling a different crisis. Biogen Tech was quietly acquiring shares of Lawson Innovations through anonymous investment funds, Derek was on the brink of losing control over the company he had built from the ground up. Derek received Hannah's news with a mix of skepticism and hope. His instincts urged him to believe in this miracle, but his rational mind struggled to accept it. Hannah, on the other hand, knew that it wasn't just the 3 babies who needed a father. She also needed a partner to face the challenges ahead. 3 months had passed since that fateful night. Life in New York had continued for Hannah Cole as if nothing had happened. Articles, investigations, and packed interview schedules left her with little time to think about anything else, or at least that's what she had convinced herself. She and Derek Lawson, the man she had met by chance at a lavish London party, had not contacted each other since that night. For both of them, it was nothing more than a fleet mistake, a moment of weakness between 2 people from vastly different worlds. But everything changed when Hannah began experiencing unusual fatigue. At first, she attributed it to work stress, sleepless nights, or simply the changing seasons. However, as the symptoms grew more persistent, morning nausea, constant exhaustion, and strange food cravings, she could no longer deny the truth. One early morning, she held a pregnancy test in trembling hands, her heartbeat racing when the 2 red lines appeared clearly before her eyes. It took a few moments for her to fully grasp the reality, and a wave of fear washed over her, but it was only when she lay on the examination bed at the obstetrics clinic, staring at the screen, that the truth became undeniable. "Congratulations, Hannah," the doctor said with a warm smile. "You're expecting triplets." Triplets? Hannah sat up abruptly, staring at the screen where 3 tiny heartbeats pulsed in rhythmic harmony. Her breath caught in her throat. How could this be? Derek had told her he couldn't have children. The doctors had confirmed he was completely infertile. Then where did these 3 babies come from? Leaving the clinic, Hannah felt a whirlwind of emotions. Her mind was racing with endless questions, each without an answer. But there was one thing she knew for sure. Derek had to know. After many sleepless nights, Hannah finally made the decision to return to London, carrying a secret too big to keep to herself. She stepped out of Heathrow Airport on a gloomy afternoon, the biting wind whipping through her hair. Standing in front of the hotel where she had stayed before, memories of that fateful night came rushing back. She shook her head, pushing them aside, reminding herself of the only reason she was here, to tell Derek that he was going to be a father. Hannah arranged a meeting with Derek through his assistant. The meeting took place at Lawson Innovations headquarters, an imposing glass skyscraper in the heart of London. As she walked into the luxurious conference room, Derek stood by the window, his back turned to her. His tall frame, broad shoulders, and composed demeanor remained unchanged. Hannah, his familiar deep voice, filled the room, though this time with a hint of tension. He turned around, his piercing gray eyes scanning her, and for a brief moment she caught a flicker of surprise before it was concealed behind his usual calm exterior. "I didn't think we'd see each other again." Hannah took a deep breath, trying to steady her voice. "I need to talk to you about us." Derek crossed his arms, his gaze scrutinizing us. She clenched her hands under the table, feeling the coldness of her fingers. "I'm pregnant, Derek, 3 months now. And it's triplets." The room fell into an eerie silence, so quiet that Hannah could hear her own heartbeat pounding in her chest. Derek's eyes widened for a brief second, and for the first time since she'd met him, she saw undeniable disbelief written all over his face. "That's impossible," he muttered, his voice catching in his throat. "I thought so too," Hannah said, keeping her tone as steady as she could. "I know what you told me, but this is real, and you need to know." Derek took a step back, his gaze clouded with confusion as he forced himself to confront a reality he had always believed to be impossible. "The doctors told me my chances of having children were 0. Hannah, are you sure?" Hannah's grip tightened. "I've done multiple tests, 3 to be exact, all confirmed it." Derek stood frozen, his hand instinctively resting on the edge of the table, as if he needed something to hold on to stay grounded. Hope and doubt warred within him, threatening to unravel everything he thought he knew. But before he could respond, the door to the conference room burst open. Blake, the company's head of PR, strode in with an urgent expression. "Derek, you need to see this right now." She placed a thick file and a tablet in front of him, displaying a front-page article from the Financial Times Law and Innovations. Accused of unauthorized medical trials, Biogen Tech demands immediate investigation. Derek scanned the headline, his jaw clenching. Nathan Blackwood had made his move. Do we know where they got this information? Dirk's voice was icy calm. Jennifer shook. Her head, worry etched across her features. It seems Biogen has reached out to some of our former employees. They're accusing us of conducting clinical trials on patients without full regulatory approval. Hannah sat silently watching Derek process the crisis unfolding before him. The tension in his every move was palpable. He was not only dealing with a personal shock, but also facing the imminent threat of losing everything he had built. We need an emergency meeting with legal and the board, Derek ordered, his eyes still locked on the screen, his mind already racing through possible strategies. Hannah felt a lump in her throat. She had come here to talk about their unborn children, but it was clear Derek was in the middle of a much bigger storm than she had imagined. Derek finally looked up at her, his once warm gray eyes now cold and distant. I can't deal with this right now, he said, his voice hoarse. I need time. Hannah nodded. But deep down she knew there wasn't much time to wait. I'm not going anywhere, Derek. We'll talk when you're ready. But the real question remained, would Derek ever truly be ready to face this reality? Derek Lawson sat silently in his spacious office, the lights of London casting faint streaks across his sleek desk. Through the thick glass windows in front of him lay the ultrasound results that Hannah had brought, the blurry images of 3 lives etched onto the white paper. He stared at them, his mind a whirlwind of fragile hope and deep skepticism. 3 babies, he murmured, tracing his fingers along the image. Every doctor he'd ever consulted, every test he'd undergone, had all confirmed one thing: he couldn't have children. It was a truth he'd been forced to accept for years. So how could this possibly be real when Hannah had stood before him just hours earlier, her eyes shimmering with determination? Derek hadn't known how to react. A part of him wanted to believe her, to believe in miracles, but logic refused to let him. Hannah had looked him straight in the eye when she said, Derek, I know this is hard to believe, but it's the truth. I don't want anything from you. I just thought you should know. But instead of gratitude, his first reaction was doubt. Part of it stemmed from fear, part from the nature of a businessman who always prioritized logic and facts. Are you sure they're mine? The words escaped his mouth faster than he could stop them, and instantly he saw a flicker of hurt in her eyes. Hannah pressed her lips together and nodded. I understand you need time, and I understand you want proof. We'll do a DNA test. But Derek, regardless of the result, I'm keeping them. She left his office shortly after, leaving Derek alone with his chaotic thoughts. He wanted to believe in this miracle, but the fear of being deceived, of hoping only to be let down again, made him hesitate. But Derek didn't have much time to dwell on his thoughts. Just days later, the media exploded with news of the mysterious relationship between the CEO of LW and Innovations and investigative journalist Hein Cole. Photos of them together at the charity event 3 months ago resurfaced, plastered across headlines with sensational captions: Billionaire, Derek Lawson's secret love affair, an unexpected triplet scandal, infertile CEO to become a father, truth or PR stunt, Hannah Cole, investigative journalist or gold digger with in-laws and Innovations. Chaos erupted. The board of directors demanded an emergency meeting to address the situation, while shareholders grew increasingly concerned about how Derek's personal scandal could affect the company's value. Jennifer Blake, the head of PR, stormed into his office with a worried expression. We need to shut this down immediately, Derek. If you don't release an official statement, our stock is going to keep plummeting. The press is blowing this out of proportion, and investors are panicking. Derek rubbed his temple, feeling the familiar throb of an impending headache. So what do you suggest? I say, Jennifer, that I don't know if I'm actually the father of those babies. Jennifer shook her head. We can't say that publicly, not until the DNA results are in. For now, the best course of action is to remain silent and avoid any interview. Derek sighed, exhaustion etched into his features. What about Hannah? Is she being harassed? Jennifer hesitated. The media is all over her. There are rumors that Biogen Tech might be behind the leak to put more pressure on you. Hearing Biogen Tech and Nathan Blackwood's name made Derek's jaw tighten. Nathan would stop at nothing to bring him down, and using his personal life as ammunition was just another move in his relentless game across London. Hannah was feeling the crushing weight of the situation. The press hounded her at every turn, throwing endless questions about her relationship with Derek and whether she had trapped him. She tried to stay composed, but deep down fear gnawed her. Then early one morning, a message from Derek appeared on her phone. "I've arranged the DNA test for tomorrow. I'll be there with you." Hannah exhaled a sigh of relief. Despite his doubts, at least Derek was willing to face the truth. She knew that the test wasn't just to prove the truth to him, but also to protect the 3 innocent lives she carried from the cruel speculations of the world. When she arrived at the hospital the next day, Derek was already there, holding a cup of coffee in his hand. His eyes were tired, but resolute. Hannah said nothing, simply watching him. After a long pause, Derek let out a deep breath. "No matter what the results say, I'll take responsibility for them." His serious tone made something inside her ease. "Thank you," she whispered. The test was conducted in silence, the only sounds being the rhythmic tapping of the doctor's keyboard and the occasional glance exchanged between them. When it was over, Derek simply nodded and walked away. But Hannah knew that for both of them, the countdown to the truth had already begun. In the days awaiting the results, Derek found himself torn between conflicting thoughts. He wanted to believe in the miracle, yet at the same time he feared that it was all just a mistake, or worse, an elaborate trap. The uncertainty gnawed at him, filling his mind with doubts he couldn't shake. Meanwhile, Hannah reassured herself that no matter the outcome, she would remain the mother of these 3 children, and she would fight for them with everything she had. The weight of responsibility felt immense, but she was determined to face whatever lay ahead with unwavering strength. Both of them knew that once the truth was revealed, nothing would ever be the same again. Less than 2 days after the news of Derek Lawson and Hannah Cole's relationship flooded the headlines, a new article appeared in The Guardian with a sensational title: "Is Lawson Innovations Hiding Secret Fertility Experiments? CEO Derek Lawson suddenly expecting children despite infertility diagnosis." Derek placed the newspaper down on his desk, his eyes darkening as he read the bold headline. He was no stranger to media attacks, but this time the story wasn't just another harmless rumor. It was a calculated strike from the one person with the motive to destroy him: Nathan Blackwood, CEO of Biogen Tech, his fiercest rival in the medical technology industry. Across the desk, Jennifer Blake, his head of PR, stood with visible tension etched on her face. "Nathan isn't just spreading rumors," she said, her voice steady but laced with concern. "He's pushing this narrative to our shareholders, making them believe you use the company to conduct unauthorized fertility experiments on yourself." Derek clenched his fists, a surge of anger rising in his chest. "Ridiculous. Everyone knows I would never do something like that. Law on Innovations has never conducted any trials without full regulatory approval." Jennifer sighed and slid a stack of documents toward him. "That's true, but Nathan has fabricated a series of evidence, doctored reports, false testimonies from former employees, and even manipulated images to make it all seem credible." Derek flipped through the pages, his sharp eyes scanning the dense accusations. Some of the forgeries were so meticulously crafted that even a seasoned legal team would struggle to find the flaws. "The board meeting is coming up," Jennifer continued, her voice heavy with urgency, "and several major stakeholders are demanding answers. If you can't provide a solid explanation, they might vote to strip you of control over the company." Derek took a deep breath, forcing himself to stay composed. "We need time. The paternity test results will prove I didn't manipulate anything." Jennifer nodded, but her expression remained grim. "The problem is we don't have time. Nathan knows that he's accelerating the pressure, feeding these rumors to every media outlet. Our stock has already dropped by 12% this morning across the city." Hannah was facing chaos of her own everywhere. She was followed. Reporters swarmed out outside her hotel, cameras flashing the moment she stepped out the door. Calls from colleagues were relentless, all asking about her secret relationship with Derek. Texts from old friends were filled with curiosity and judgment. Pulling her cap lower over her face, Hannah hurried out of the hotel, but the swarm of journalists descended on her instantly. "Miss Cole, did you know about Dirk's fertility experiments before you met him? Do you actually love him? Or is this just a scheme to capitalize on his fame? Are the triplets part of some secret arrangement?" Hannah bit her lip, trying to maintain her composure. As one reporter got dangerously close, "No comment," she said firmly, her voice cold, but her heart pounding in turmoil. Ducking into a nearby cafe, she pulled out her phone and saw multiple unread messages from Derek. "Are you okay? Stay put. I'll send security." She sighed, realizing that she couldn't keep avoiding the inevitable. Taking a deep breath, she replied, "I'm fine, but we need to act now." Derek stood outside the conference room, gazing through the glass at the stern faces of the shareholders. These were the same people who once believed in his vision, and now they were questioning his integrity and ethics. Taking a deep breath, he stepped inside, offering a brief nod before taking his seat. Arthur Grayson, one of the oldest and most conservative shareholders, wasted no time in addressing him. "Derek, I think you understand why we're here," Grayson said, his voice measured but firm. "We need to know if you've used the company's technology to address your personal issues." Derek met his gaze, his voice cold but unwavering. "Absolutely not. Loan Innovations has never conducted any fertility experiments involving me. These rumors are completely false, and I will clear this up as soon as the DNA results are available." Grayson frowned, tapping his fingers on the table. "The problem, Derek, is that by the time those results come through, the damage may already be done. Nathan Blackwood is exploiting the uncertainty to manipulate public opinion. You need a strategy to counter this now." Derek clenched his fists under the table, his jaw tightening. "I understand everyone's concerns. We are already taking legal action against Biogen Tech, and I will restore the company's reputation." "And what about that journalist?" another shareholder chimed in. "We need to know if she's part of this scheme." Derek shot to his feet, his voice sharp with defiance. "Hannah has nothing to do with Nathan's lies. She has no reason to destroy me, and I trust her." A heavy silence fell over the room. After a long pause, Grayson nodded slowly. "You have one week, Derek. If you can't prove your innocence, we will have to act in the company's best interest." Derek walked out of the boardroom, feeling the weight of the world pressing down on his shoulders. He wasn't just fighting to prove the truth to Hannah. He was fighting to protect the empire he had built with his blood and sweat. And somewhere out there, Nathan Blackwood was likely smiling in triumph, believing he had finally backed Derek into a corner. But what Nathan didn't realize was that Derek Lawson was not a man who fell easily, and soon he was going to find that out. Derek Lawson sat silently in his penthouse apartment, his vacant eyes gazing down at the bustling streets of London. Below, the headlights of cars streaming along the Thames reflected off the glass window, but the beauty of the city no longer held a place in his thoughts. In front of him lay two crucial documents: a formal proposal from the board urging him to step down temporarily as CEO to protect the company's reputation, and a sealed envelope containing the DNA test results. He picked up the envelope, his heart pounding in his chest, hands trembling as he carefully tore it open. The results were clear, undeniable. Derek was the father of the 3 children. The room seemed to spin around him. A wave of emotion surged through: shock, joy, and an overwhelming sense of responsibility. It was real, no more doubts. But with that joy came a weight that settled heavily on his shoulders. Just then, Jennifer, his PR chief, entered the room, her expression cautious. "Good news or bad?" she asked. Tentatively, Derek looked up, his voice hoarse. "They're mine." Jennifer nodded slowly, as if she had already expected it. "So what's your next move?" "The board is pressing hard, and they want your decision now." Derek closed his eyes briefly. He knew he had 2 choices: stay silent, sacrifice his personal life to shield loss and innovations, or come clean, embrace the risks, and fight for what truly mattered: the family he never thought he could have. When he opened his eyes, his decision was made. "I'm going public," he said firmly. "I can't keep living under speculation, and I won't let Nathan control my narrative anymore." Jennifer sighed, but after a moment she nodded, a faint smile playing on her lips. "I'll get the media strategy ready." "Are you sure about this?" Derek stood, his gaze Steady more than ever that afternoon, Derek made his way to Hannah's modest apartment in London. When she opened the door, her face was cautious, her eyes wary from days of relentless media scrutiny. "I got the results, Dirk," said his voice calm yet resolute. Hannah held her breath, waiting. Derek stepped inside and handed her the envelope. "The children are mine, there's no doubt anymore." She took the paper with trembling hands, reading it over and over as if needing to ensure she wasn't imagining it when her eyes finally met his. The initial anger she had carried dissipated, replaced by relief in apprehension. "So what now?" she asked softly. Derek stepped closer, placing the hand on the table between them, his gaze unwavering. "I want to be a father, and I want to do it right." Hannah stood still, taking in the sincerity in his voice. She had feared he would walk away, choosing his empire over this unexpected reality. But here he was standing in front of her. "A man willing to face his responsibilities. We'll do this together," she said, and for the first time since she had discovered her pregnancy, she felt she wasn't alone in carrying this burden. That evening they sat down to discuss their future, how they would raise their children, their fears, and their hopes. Derek immersed himself in parenting books that Hannah handed him, and even signed up for a parenting course for expectant fathers. "I can't believe I'm going to have 3 kids," he murmured, flipping through a section on newborn care. Hannah chuckled. "Believe me, I still haven't wrapped my head around it either." And in that moment, despite the uncertainty of what lay ahead, they both found solace in the fact that they were facing it together as they prepared for the arrival of their 3 children. Derek couldn't sit idly by and let Nathan continue to sabotage his work. Determined to fight back, he reached out to a top-tier investigative team to uncover evidence of BioNTech illegal activities in his private office. Derek sat across from Ethan Carter, a former MI6 agent turned corporate investigator. Ethan opened his laptop and presented his initial findings. "We found some irregular financial transactions between BioNTech and several former Lawson Innovations employees," Ethan reported. "It appears Nathan has been paying them to provide false information about your medical trials." Derek's expression hardened. "What will it take to expose him?" Ethan smirked. "A little patience and a few conversations with the right people." They devised a strategy to turn the tables by leaking information that Lawson Innovations was planning to release a full financial report and internal research findings, forcing BioNTech to react under media pressure. A few weeks later, at a major press conference at Lawson Innovations headquarters, Derek stepped onto the stage, the bright lights of the cameras shining directly onto his resolute face. "The DNA test results have confirmed that I am the father of the triplets, and there has been no medical intervention involved," Derek declared firmly. "Lawson Innovations has never conducted any unauthorized trials." He paused, letting his words sink in as his gaze swept across the crowded room of reporters. "However, there is a company that deliberately spread false information in an attempt to undermine us, and we will not let them get away with it." At that very moment, Dirk's investigative team uncovered evidence proving that Nathan Blackwood had bribed several officials to cover up BioNTech's failed medical trials. The news spread rapidly, and within days, BioNTech found itself at the center of a major scandal. Nathan scrambled to deny the accusations, but the overwhelming evidence left him with no way out. With Nathan forced to step down from BioNTech and Lawson Innovations regaining its footing, Derek and Hannah could finally focus on each other and prepare for their growing family. Derek purchased a spacious home in the outskirts of London, providing ample space for their soon-to bustling household. One afternoon, as they stood in the nursery they had just finished painting, Derek glanced at Hannah with a soft smile. "What do you think?" he asked. Hannah placed her hands on her belly, feeling the tiny kicks from within. "I think we're going to be okay." Derek wrapped his arms around her from behind, whispering into her ear, "We won't just be okay, we'll be happy, and for the first time in months." Hannah truly believed it. As the days passed, Hannah's belly grew larger, and with it Dirk's constant worries. Although they were gradually adapting to their new life, the pressures of work, media attention, and Hannah's health created an atmosphere of tension that neither of them could ignore. By the 6th month of her pregnancy, Hannah's discomfort had escalated. Persistent back pain, dizziness, and exhaustion became more severe. One Morning, while Derek was engrossed in preparing for an important board meeting, Hannah suddenly felt a wave of dizziness wash over her. She clutched her abdomen, a sharp pain shooting through her, and collapsed onto the living room floor. Derek heard the thud and rushed to her side, his heart pounding in his chest. "Hannah, are you okay? I'm calling an ambulance." She weakly shook her head, her voice trembling. "It's just I'm a little tired. I just need to rest." But Dirk's eyes were filled with worry. "No, we can't take any chances. I'm taking you to the hospital right now." Within 15 minutes, an ambulance arrived and rushed them to St. Thomas Hospital. The medical team immediately took over running tests and monitoring Hannah's condition closely. The lead physician, Dr. Philip Carter, a renowned specialist in high-risk pregnancies, entered the room with a serious expression. "Cole's condition is concerning," he said, his tone calm but firm. "She's showing signs of preeclampsia, a serious complication for pregnancies involving multiples. Her blood pressure is dangerously high, and there's a risk of preterm labor. Our priority now is to prolong the pregnancy for as long as possible while ensuring both her safety and the baby's." Derek sat beside Hannah, his hand tightly wrapped around hers, and his voice hoarse with emotion. "Do whatever it takes. I don't care about the cost. Just keep her and the baby safe." Hannah, her face pale but resolute, looked at Derek with concern in her eyes. "You have your work, the company. You don't have to be here all the time." Derek's grip on her hand tightened, his gaze unwavering. "You are what matters most to me right now. The company can be rebuilt, but I can't lose you." At that moment, Derek realized that no matter how powerful he was as a CEO, there were things beyond his control. Business could be rebuilt, but family was irreplaceable. Over the following days, Derek put his business commitments on hold, choosing to stay by Hannah's side. He handled board meetings remotely and delegated tasks to his most trusted executives, but his primary focus remained on her health and the unborn children. Despite the tension, the hospital room became a place of quiet bonding. Late at night, when the monitors beeped rhythmically, Derek would sit by Hannah's bedside, reading baby care books aloud or simply holding her hand in silent support. "I never thought I'd say this," Hannah murmured one evening, watching Derek study a baby sleep schedule chart with surprising dedication. "But you're going to be an amazing dad." Derek smiled softly, brushing a strand of hair from her forehead. "I didn't think I'd ever get the chance," he admitted, "but now that I do, I don't intend to mess it up." As weeks passed, under careful monitoring, Derek and Hannah's bond deepened. The once distant CEO and the fiercely independent journalist were now navigating the uncertainties of parenthood together, facing each day with a mix of fear and hope. But as the due date approached, new challenges loomed on the horizon, ones that would test their resilience and love in ways they never anticipated. While Derek was spending time with Hannah at the hospital, his investigative team, led by Ethan Carter, continued their search for evidence against Nathan Blackwood. After weeks of relentless effort, they finally uncovered a major loophole in Billionaire's clinical trial reports. Ethan walked into Hannah's hospital room holding a thick stack of documents. "Derek, we have what you need." Derek took the documents, flipping through the pages, his eyes growing sharper as he absorbed the contents. He manipulated the clinical trial results, fabricated data to secure FDA approval for his product. Ethan nodded. "Exactly. We found evidence that some of the trial participants were actually his people, and the positive results were fake to cover up dangerous side effects." Derek exhaled, a mix of anger and relief washing over him. "Perfect. We're going public with this. Are you still following the story? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think about it." 2 days later, despite his concern for Hannah, Derek had to return to LW and Innovation's headquarters for the decisive shareholders meeting. The atmosphere in the boardroom was so tense it felt like it could be cut with a knife. Once everyone was seated, Nathan Blackwood entered with his usual smug demeanor, dressed impeccably in a tailored suit. "We're here to discuss the issues surrounding Lawson Innovations." "Correct," he smirked. Derek didn't let him take the upper hand. He stood up, his gaze sharp, his voice commanding. "Before we talk about my company, I think we need to clarify some matters regarding Billionaire. On the large screen, the documents collected by his investigative team were displayed. The shareholders watched intently as Derek presented the evidence. Piece by piece, from secret email exchanges between Nathan and bribed researchers to the fraudulent financial reports of Biogen, Nathan used underhanded tactics to manipulate trial results. Derek concluded firmly, and loss and innovations will not allow this to continue. The room erupted in murmurs, with several shareholders beginning to question Nathan, and some even distancing themselves from him. Facing mounting pressure from the media and shareholders, Nathan was ultimately forced to withdraw from the legal battle and left the meeting in disgrace. Derek let out a deep breath of relief, knowing he had regained the trust of the company, but more importantly, he had protected his integrity. Legal victory did not make Derek forget what truly mattered. Hannah. Right after the meeting, he rushed back to the hospital, but the moment he stepped into the room, he sensed something was wrong. Hannah lay on the bed, sweat beading on her forehead. Her breathing labored. Dr. Philip Carter approached, his expression grave. Derek, we need to operate immediately. She's experiencing severe preeclampsia. If we don't act now, both mother and babies will be at serious risk. Derek's heart clenched. He grasped Hannah's hand tightly, his voice hoarse. You're going to be fine. I'm right here. Hannah managed a faint smile. Promise me, if anything happens, take care of them. No, you're going to get through this, Derek whispered, pressing a kiss to her forehead. The surgery lasted 310 hours, with Derek pacing outside the operating room, his hands clenched so tightly they turned white. Each passing second felt like an eternity. Finally, when the doctor emerged, Derek jumped to his feet. How is she? The doctor gave a reassuring smile. All 3 babies are safe. Hannah is stable, but she'll need time to recover. Derek felt tears welling up in emotion he rarely allowed himself to show. When he was finally allowed into the recovery room, he saw Hannah lying on the bed, exhausted but glowing. As she gazed at their 3 tiny angels in the incubator, he took her hand, whispering, "You did amazing." She squeezed his hand weakly, her voice filled with happiness. "We did it." Derek leaned down, pressing a gentle kiss on each of their foreheads. "Welcome to the world, my little ones." Amid the storm of public scrutiny, hardships, and uncertainties, Derek finally realized that he had found the most important thing in his life: a real family. After hours of intense surgery, their 3 babies were finally born safely, 2 boys and a girl. Although they arrived prematurely, all 3 were healthy and full of life. In the recovery room, Derek held Hannah's hand tightly, gazing at her with eyes full of love. "You did so well," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. Hannah gave a weak smile, her eyes brimming with tears of joy as she looked at the 3 little angels in their incubators. "We did it," she whispered. Derek leaned down and kissed each of his children on the forehead, softly welcoming them to the world. He had never imagined feeling such immense love. The overwhelming joy of becoming a father made him realize that his true legacy wasn't his career, but the precious moments spent with his family. A few months later, when Hannah had fully recovered and the triplets were healthy enough to go home, Derek decided it was time to turn a long-held dream into reality. One afternoon, as they sat by the river Thames watching the breathtaking sunset, Derek took out a simple yet elegant ring and knelt before Hannah. "Hannah Cole," he said, his voice sincere and warm, "you walked into my life like a gentle breeze, bringing things I never dared to dream of. Let's build a complete family together. Will you marry me?" Tears streamed down Hannah's cheeks as she looked at him. She nodded, said softly, her voice choked with emotion, "I've been yours for a long time." Derek. They had a small wedding by the river, with only close family and friends as witnesses. Their 3 babies were cradled in their arms, a testament to the love and miracle they had created together. There was no extravagance, no distinguished guest, just the warmth and sincerity of those who truly cared. As the golden hues of twilight bathed them, Derek held Hannah close during their first dance as husband and wife, whispering in her ear, "This family is the greatest thing I've ever had." After the wedding, Derek returned to work with a completely new mindset. With Hannah's unwavering support, he decided to steer loss and innovations in a more humanitarian direction. Focusing on reproductive technology and family health, the company began developing products specifically for couples struggling with infertility and expanded financial aid for families in need. At the same time, Derek and Hannah established a charity foundation called the Miracle Project dedicated to supporting orphan children and single mothers facing hardships. The launch event of the foundation garnered widespread media attention, not because it was backed by a corporate giant, but because of the inspiring story of Derek and Hannah themselves. Family is not just about blood ties, Derek said during his speech at the launch event. It's about the people who love each other and overcome every obstacle to find their way to one another. After a long legal battle, the evidence against Nathan Blackwood was made public. He was charged with market manipulation, falsifying clinical trial results, and faced a series of legal accusations. Biogen Tech plunged into a severe crisis, forcing Nathan to sell off his shares to avoid bankruptcy. Derek took no pleasure in this victory, understanding that true success lay not in bringing others down, but in building something better. He dedicated himself to his family and his company, becoming not only a respected leader, but also an admired one for his unwavering commitment. On a beautiful weekend, Derek and Hannah enjoyed a picnic at their riverside home on the Thames with their 3 children. Hannah's smile shone brighter than ever as she watched Derek play with the kids. The 2 boys ran across the grassy lawn while their little girl curled up in Derek's arms, fast asleep. Hannah leaned her head on her husband's shoulder and sighed happily. "Do you have any regrets?" Derek smiled, his gaze fixed on their children. "Not at all. Everything that happened led me here to you and our children. This is the legacy I want to leave behind." The gentle breeze carried the sound of their children's laughter across the river. Gone were the pressures of work and the anxieties of stormy days. Now the only thing that mattered was the love and bond they had built as a family. The story emphasizes that family is the most valuable legacy, surpassing fame and wealth. It conveys a message of love, perseverance, and the miracles of life as Derek and Hannah overcome all challenges to create a complete family. Happiness does not come from material success, but from the simple moments shared with loved ones at the same time. The story highlights the values of sincerity and generosity, showing that true success comes from giving and helping others. Thank you for staying with us until the end. Let us know your thoughts on this story in the comments below. What type of stories would you like to hear next? Don't forget to like, share the story, and subscribe.